So I think that Kentaro Miura's Berserk is the greatest story ever told. Look, I've rewatched the 1997 show about 4 times. I've read through the manga twice, and I'm on my third reread of the manga right now. And I got to this panel right here, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this dude's physique is insane. And so I looked up like his height and his weight. This dude is 6'3", 220 pounds. And I was just thinking to myself, man, this guy Guts would be terrorizing the light heavyweight division. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Tony has died. I'm going to be matching up Guts against the best fighters in the UFC and seeing how he would fare against them. All right. So let's set some ground rules before we get into this. The first ground rule is that this is the Golden Age Guts only. And the reason it has to be Golden Age Guts only is because he has no arm. Okay. He's not going to be out there fighting without a prosthetic. Okay. Like, it would be unfair to the people we're matching him up against if he gets the literal metal hand to punch him with. So this has to be pre-Eclipse Guts only, okay? And as I mentioned before, he's 20 years old, he's 6'3", he's 220 pounds. And so he's going to be fighting in the light heavyweight and heavyweight division, all right? But what do his skills actually look like as a fighter? I have looked through the manga in the first early couple of books, and I've determined that he's a kickboxer. Right? He uses a assortment of tools. He uses mostly his boxing, but he does use kicks as well in his fights. And so I don't really see him using much elbows, and I don't really see him using many knees in his fights. So I think that he is mostly a kickboxer. Okay. The next thing we need to talk about is his strength. This dude would by far be the strongest fucking fighter to ever enter the UFC Octagon. I mean, he fought a literal demon overlord and told him that he was the strongest person he's ever fought. When he was fighting Nosferatu Zod, okay? Zod was like, you are the strongest human I've ever faced. No one's ever even pierced me before. And Zod has been alive for 3,000 years, killing people and stuff. And so we have to assume that Guts would be stronger than Ngannou. He would be stronger than any just pure strength. He's probably stronger than any human that's ever existed just because he's a genetic fucking freak. The next thing we need to talk about is his ground game. When he first encountered Griffith, he really showed a lot of he showed off some good techniques in this fight, right? He used ground and pound, and he was using it effectively against Griffith. But the problem with Guts' ground game is he doesn't have submission defense. I think that this is a Kimura that Griffith puts Guts in the beginning of the series. And he submits Guts. Now, the thing about the submission, though, is that Guts doesn't tap. He literally just says, break my fucking arm, and Griffith breaks his arm or dislocates his arm or whatever. So on the ground, I think he's kind of like an amateur when it comes to the ground game. But you look at the heavier weight classes, Alex Pereira is a 2-time champion. Okay, you don't really need to have a great ground game to be a great UFC fighter. You need to just excel in your one attribute. And he is good at stuffing takedowns. No one really takes Guts down that much throughout the series except for literal fucking apostles. Okay? And so I think that he does have a weakness to submissions. I don't think he's very technically skilled on the ground, but I do think that he does have good ground and pound. So if he drops his opponent, for instance, if he hits somebody, they're going out, bro. And if they don't go out, he'll finish them off with the ground and pound. So, yeah, I think the ground game is definitely a weakness, though, in the grappling department. But not only would he be the strongest fucking person to ever enter the UFC, he would be the most durable person to ever enter the UFC. I mean, this is a scene where he literally gets thrown full force into a pillar, hits his head directly, and he not only does he not die, he gets up and keeps fighting after this. So he would 100% be the most durable fighter to ever enter the UFC. And not only that, his endurance is fucking crazy. Okay, this dude, I know that he killed 100 men at the same time, and he fought for literal hours doing this. Now, I don't think that these 100 men were highly trained, bro, but do you think any fighter in the UFC could fight off 100 people at the same time? But he has a sword in this. So that's another thing. This is just hand-to-hand combat. This is no weapons are allowed, no explosives, no arrows. So he only has his hands. So obviously he couldn't fight off 100 people with just his hand. But the way he swings that fucking Dragon Slayer sword around, you got to be super strong for that. And not only is he super strong, but he's highly endurance. Like, he literally fought for an entire night against those 100 men. So not only that, but he has great head movement. There's like multiple times throughout the fucking comics where it's people trying to hit him and he's like easily avoiding their shots without even caring. And I think another highly contributing factor into this would be his fight IQ. I think not only is he experienced at the age of 20 being through so many battles where he's like in close quarters and fighting, but he also used his fight IQ to defeat Griffith in the fucking second fight against Griffith. And so when we put all of that together, Guts would be a very, he's a genetic freak, bro. Now, one thing he would probably have a problem with is cutting to 205 pounds, considering that he literally looks about 2% body fat. Like, what is he even going to cut? But let's just say that he could make 205 and that he would fight at heavyweight probably. You know, later in the series, he gets the Berserker armor or whatever. And that doesn't count. That's like literally a PED, bro. That's like you'd fail a USADA test for the fucking Berserker armor. So, in this Berserker armor makes him taller and it makes him way more. I'm pretty sure he's like 6'8" by the time like the manga's still going on right now. But as of right now, he's 6'3", 220 pounds. Let's say he can make 205 with a really, really tough like Garbrandt-esque weight cut, and he could fight at heavyweight. So yeah, let's get into who I think he could beat and who I don't think he could beat, all right? S tier is for who would defeat Guts. F tier is easy finish for Guts, okay? Let's start off in the middle. We got Yuri Prochazka. I got to put Yuri in the C tier, bro. Like, let's be real. Yuri is a great fighter, but he just gets hit too much, bro. If Guts literally connects on Yuri one time, he's toast. He's literally toast. Like, look what Pereira did to Yuri. Just imagine Guts, who has the striking, and he has more power than Pereira, for sure. And so I feel like if this sounds so autistic now that I'm saying it out loud, but I feel like if Guts connected on Yuri's chin, it would be night out for Yuri. I do think that his unorthodox abilities would be a problem for Guts slightly, mostly because Griffith, he probably weighs about 170. You know, Griffith is a small guy, and he was able to beat Guts a couple of times. And he's a more technical fighter, right? And he was able to give Guts a lot of trouble. And so I think like the unorthodoxness of Yuri Prochazka would be probably a big problem for Guts. But I do think that over the course of a 5-round fight, Guts is going to find his chin, bro. So I got to put Yuri in the C tier. Chuck Liddell, sorry, bro. Going in the D tier, man. Especially if we're talking about like end of career Chuck Liddell, where literally got knocked out like 5 times in a row. Now, the reason I don't put Chuck Liddell in the F tier is he still has the puncher's chance. But as I said when we were talking about durability, I think you'd have to really lay it on Guts if you hit him, bro. Like, you'd have to land the perfect fucking shot if you were going to put Guts out cold, bro. Like, this dude's not going, like, the only time he really gets hurt when people punch him is when it's, like, literal demons, bro. And so I don't think that Chuck Liddell would stand much of a chance. Maybe he can maraud forward. And, yeah, I don't think he would stand much of a chance. Let's talk about someone who I think could beat him. I know what you're thinking, bro. Guts literally already fought John Jones, bro. You know, the Donovan guy? That's literally John Jones. I'm just kidding. That's kind of fucked up to Donovan to say that. But jokes aside, John Jones would take Guts down, man. Like, if 170-pound Griffith can put you in a Kimura or like an armbar or whatever, John Jones is going to take you down. I mean, And the thing about John Jones is he has one of the best chins in UFC history. He's only been wobbled a couple of times, one by Gustafsson, one by Reyes. And his ground game is just too good, man. Like, if he takes Guts down, he's probably going to submit him. He has a lot of submissions in his record. I would pick John Jones to beat Guts, unfortunately. But, yeah. Let's talk about the next guy on this list. Alex Pereira. I put Alex Pereira. Like, this would be a competitive fight. I do think that Alex Pereira is just a better, more technical, skilled fighter than Guts. I think that, like, in the striking, it could be, like, he definitely holds the advantage in the striking. But Adesanya put this guy out cold. I'm just saying, bro. If Adesanya hits you, it's lights out. And I think a big problem for Pereira in this fight would be the durability. I'm just saying, bro, like, Guts would have the best chin. He's not going to quit ever against someone like Pereira. Like, kind of like, look at the Roundtree fight. Roundtree, not as good as Pereira at all, but he made it super close with him just because he was able to, like, be durable as fuck, you know? And so someone like Guts, I think, could maraud forward and most likely defeat Alex Pereira, and he doesn't have to worry about the ground game as well. And so for those reasons, I got to put Alex Pereira in the A tier because I think that Guts would probably be able to eat his best shots and then hit him. And if he hits him, he'll land some ground and pound and put him out. But I think Alex Pereira could, like, it would be a 50-50 fight, man. Like, this is like minus 120 for Alex Pereira. You feel me? So, yeah, let's talk about the next guy. Rampage Jackson. Rampage Jackson, you're getting fucking... Oh, this isn't Ngannou. Rampage Jackson, you're getting flatlined, bro. Rampage Jackson, you're getting put out cold, bro. Rampage Jackson is literally just like the average... He's like the average fucking person that Guts beats in the fucking fights, bro. So, like, I mean, Guts is literally cutting through steel plate armor. That's how strong this guy is. Like, Rampage Jackson got knocked out by Vanderlei Silva, okay? He got knocked out. Who else did he get? I don't know, bro. I just think it would be an easy fight for Guts. Let's talk about someone else. I'll put Ngannou in the B tier, man. So the thing about Ngannou is, like, what version of Ngannou is Guts going to fight here, bro? Is it going to be, you know, modern-day Ngannou who uses his wrestling like he did in the Renan Ferreira fight and like he did in the... Cyril Gane fight where he can use his grappling to win those fights and use ground and pound and stuff? Or is it going to be, you know, go out there clubbering Ngannou? Because like I said, bro, if Nosferatu Zod can pick you up and throw you into a wall at full fucking force, if you can survive the eclipse, Ngannou's not putting you out, bro. We could say it. Ngannou is not putting Guts out with a clean shot. He'd have to land like a couple of clean shots and put Guts out, man. So if it's the wrestling Ngannou, I feel like he could stand a big chance. If it's the going out there beast mode Ngannou who's just swinging towards the fences, I feel like Guts would connect on him first. And we saw Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua and Guts kind of have like the same physique too. You know what I mean? And so if this fight's in the stand-up, I'd kind of worry for Ngannou. I think Guts would probably be more technical than him as well. He is super fast, and yeah, I would probably favor Guts, but Ngannou could definitely win as well. Let's talk about someone else. Who am I going to pick here? Let's go Overeem. Bro. If Guts hit Overeem, it'd be over, bro. If Guts hit Overeem, it's straight wraps, bro. Like, Overeem is not eating a clean 1-2 from Guts. He can't put him out either, bro. I just don't see this going well for Overeem. I think Guts would probably knock him out cold. So, yeah. Let's talk about Tom Aspinall. I put Tom Aspinall... You know, Aspinall has ground game. Honestly, bro. Okay. I'll put Aspinall in the A tier. Because the thing about Aspinall is the fight... He has the ground game. He could take Guts down and he could submit him first easy. But we saw in that Cyril Gane fight... Like, have you ever watched Aspinall's fights in slow motion? He doesn't look like technically good at all, man. Guts is going to be super... he's not going to be super technical. He's going to be, like, berserk. Like, he's going to go out there and fucking... He's going to be a marauder. I feel like Guts would have, like, the same style as BSD. But BSD, if he could eat every shot and have unlimited endurance, like, that's kind of how I see this going. You know, Guts honestly kind of fights like Tom Aspinall, if you think about it. But I think that I think that Tom Aspinall would most likely be able to take Guts down and submit him, but I wouldn't be surprised if, Aspinall is so injury. You kind of have to worry about his heart a little bit too. Like Guts isn't gonna quit no matter what, even if he eye pokes Guts. Guts literally fights with one eye. He's like Char Bullet, bro. He's like Michael Bisping. He's fighting with one fucking eyeball. Most of the time after the eclipse, and so Aspinall couldn't fight with one eye. Why can't Guts beat Aspinall? You know what I'm saying here? You picking up what I'm putting down? Now, jokes aside, I think Aspinall, he's the hardest hitter the UFC's ever seen besides maybe Ngannou. Like Ngannou flatline people, Aspinall like clubbers them and then puts them out with ground and pound. And Aspinall can shoot takedowns as well. And so I would probably favor Aspinall to beat Guts. It's a 50-50 fight, so yeah. Let's talk about someone who would definitely win, though. I think Daniel Cormier could beat Guts, man. Like, the ground game would just be too much for him. The ground game is just literally, like, it would just be too much for Guts, man. Like, he would just Guts would get literally picked up and, like, you remember that, who's that big guy? He's, like, Asian looking. I can't remember his name. What is that guy's name? I think it's Pippin. Pippin literally would just pick up Guts and like carry him around to be funny, bro. Just imagine what someone like Daniel Cormier would do with the grappling credentials that he has if he like grabbed Guts, bro. He'd be throwing him around the octagon and shit, bro. So, DC has been, he might be at a big like height disadvantage, but if this is a light heavyweight, Guts cutting, Guts and DC both have to cut. Like, I feel like Guts' weight cut would be harder because he literally has no body fat. So he's going to be super drained at light heavyweight fighting DC. And that might compromise his chin a little bit, maybe his durability, but I think DC would probably just submit him, kind of like he did Derek Lewis. So yeah, speaking of Derek Lewis, put Derek Lewis in the puncher's chance tier. I think Derek Lewis could have a chance to just go out there and chin him, bro, but let's keep it for real. Derek Lewis has been chinned by Tai Tuivasa, bro, who looks like a bag of milk, bro. He looks like he looks like schnoz, bro. He looks like Tai Tuivasa looks like he's built like the what is that guy's name? What is the apostle's name? It's the first chapter, the apostle in the first chapter, bro. The one that eats people. The Baron, I think his name is. That's how Derek Lewis is built, bro. Guts got that easy, bro. Easy dub over Derek Lewis for sure, bro. Jan Blachowicz, I give Jan Blachowicz C tier, bro. I think Jan Blachowicz is super technical. I think he could maybe take Guts to a decision if he can avoid the right hand of Guts. And Blachowicz does have the takedown in the back pocket. Like, he won that first round against Pereira using the grappling, but here's what I'm going to say, man. This would be a split decision, man. This would be a split decision. Everyone's going to say, Blachowicz got robbed again, bro. But, Guts would wobble Blachowicz at some point in the fight, have Blachowicz shooting like a panic takedown or something. So I think that Guts would be fine against Blachowicz, but it would be a close fight. Next, we got Anthony Smith, man. You got to put Anthony Smith in the S tier. Anthony Smith would destroy Guts, man. Like, on paper, Anthony Smith destroys. Okay, I gotta stop playing. F tier, bro. Anthony Smith will get whooped. All right. Next one, we're gonna talk about Stipe Miocic. I'm gonna put him in the B tier. Stipe is super well rounded. It really depends on what version of Stipe we're getting in here against Guts. But if it's the Stipe that fought DC, who did a good job stuffing takedowns, who did a good job neutralizing a lot of the power that DC was throwing on me. I know he got knocked out. I know he got dropped by Overeem. I do think Guts would most likely beat Stipe if they fought each other. But I think Stipe could eke out a decision as well, man. Like, Stipe, he's super well-rounded. I think he could be fine. He's mostly a striker, though. He doesn't like to go to the ground. But, yeah, man, I think Stipe would do fine. Fedor's in C tier, man. He's just, he kind of, honestly, Fedor kind of looks like, what's that guy, the old guy with Griffith? You know who I'm talking about. What is the old guy's name? I can't remember his name. He's like a very minor character. He's like that. He's like the one that Griffith does the Diddy shit with. That's kind of who he looks like, without the beard. I think Fedor would get. I think he could be crafty against Guts, but I think Guts would most likely knock him out. Like if Mark Hunt's knocking you out, I think 6'3", 220-pound Guts, who's going to be, Fedor's not going to be able to put him out. Maybe the ground game. There's always the ground game because Guts did get the arm bar put on him by Griffith, and Guts was getting held down a lot in the Eclipse as well and made to watch terrible things. But those were literal demons he was fighting. But he goes on and kills some of those people later, so it's not that uneven of a matchup. But Guts, I just think his durability would be too much for Fedor. Next, I got Glover Teixeira. I'm going to put him in the B tier. Same thing I've kind of said with everybody else. Just kind of, iffy. Like, the grappling will be a question, but if Jamal Hill, like, Guts is kind of built, like, Golden Age Guts is kind of built like prime Jamal Hill, bro. Like, I know when you think of Jamal Hill now, you just think of the big old beer belly, but Jamal Hill used to have abs, man. People forget. Jamal Hill before the ACL tear, he was special. He was special. And he was able to tune up Glover, bro. And so I think that Guts would do a fine job against Glover Teixeira. Next thing we got is Gustafsson. Put Gustafsson in the D tier, man. I just think Gustafsson is a little bit overrated. I mean, if Guts is literally going toe-to-toe with literal demon overlords, I don't think Alexander Gustafsson would stand much of a chance. Now, I do give him the puncher's chance because he has the close fights with DC and Jones. So it really just depends on what version of Gustafsson shows up to fight, man. But Guts' head movement's going to be too good. He's going to be too slick moving, dipping in and out with the fucking shots, and I think he'd probably end up putting Gustafsson out cold. So yeah, that will do it for the video. If you like the video, like, subscribe, comment, do all that YouTube shit. I know this is kind of a divergent of the normal content that we do on this channel, but this is what no UFC does to a motherfucker. All right, so I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.